Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. My old friends at the Montem Academy in Slough. It's great to hear from you guys again. Thank you so much for reading my book. Oh, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Alistair Humphreys. I'm the guy who wrote The Boy Who Biked the World, which you've been reading in your class with your fantastic teacher, Ms. Tania. Hopefully, you've been enjoying the book. You've certainly sent me some excellent questions. So thank you very much for doing that. I also, I've got your list of questions here. They are great. I should also say that I love the names of you guys in the class. You've got such a fantastic arrangement of names. And I know that in your school, there are so many people from Britain and from all other countries in the world jumbled up together in your school, which would make it the absolute perfect school for Tom to have gone to. He loved meeting so many different people in so many different countries and cultures, and to have all that together in one school is just brilliant. So thank you so much for your questions. I really, really liked them. First up from Ayan, what inspired you to write the book? I was inspired to write the book mostly by reading books. I've got lots of travel and adventure books here, and reading those travel and adventure books, I got loads of heroes of travel and adventure, and they then made me want to go and see the world myself. I actually wrote a book about. I wrote this book a couple of years ago, Great Adventurers. These are the crazy men and women who inspired me to go on my own adventures originally. So mad people doing brilliant stuff in different parts of the world. So reading books was what made me want to go and have the adventure. And then because I've enjoyed reading books, I also then really wanted to try to write a book to see whether I might be able to write a story of an adventure. Question from Ella: how long did it take you to write the book? Usually it takes me 1 year per book. I've done 13 books now, and it takes me about a year to do a book. Akbar says, why was Tom allowed to bike the world on his own? Yes, this is a part of the book that sometimes people ask about. It's a young boy. We don't know how old Tom is. Maybe he's your age, maybe he's a bit younger, maybe he's a bit older. We don't know how old he is, but we do know he's a boy. And for some reason, his parents allow him to go off on his own and cycle around the world for a very long time and miss school. And we don't know how or why. So the truth is that I cycled around the world as an adult. When I was 24, I finished university. I trained to be a teacher, and then I decided to go on an adventure myself. So I cycled around the world as an adult. When I was going around the world, I gave loads of talks to schools, to children all around the world, and I wanted children and young people to hear about adventures in different parts of the world and different cultures. And so I decided to write a book for children. And I thought that rather than writing about a boring old grown-up, it'd be more interesting if I turned myself into a boy. And then maybe you as a reader can imagine a bit more realistically that might be you, or how might you feel if you are in those situations. Boom. Question from Moisey. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but it's a very good question. What countries have you traveled to on your bike? Shall I list them? England, France, Belgium. I cycled through 60 countries, so I won't list them all to you now, but I went right through Europe, through the Middle East, all the way down Africa, up south. Favorite country? I get asked this question hundreds of times, and I always give hundreds of different answers. So today's answer, because I'm freezing cold in my shed on this cold winter's morning, my answer this morning is my favorite country, somewhere warm and sunny and cheerful, with tropical fruits and beautiful beaches and fun, decent people. Colombia. I loved cycling through Colombia. Zach asks, why do you like to travel? Well, I like going to beautiful places. I like meeting people from different parts of the world, different cultures, different ways of life, different ideas about the world. I like it because it's fun. I like it because it's a challenge. I think it's good to do things that are really difficult, to test yourself, to try and do difficult things and see if you can overcome them. And if you do, that's really good for your self-confidence, makes you feel good and gives you a bit more bravery to try other adventurous things in your life. Luminita asks, why did you want to become a teacher? Well, I wanted to be a teacher because, well, believe it or not, I actually quite like kids. I liked being in schools. There's lots of energy, enthusiasm, curiosity. Children are brilliant. You guys are so much more interesting than adults. Adults are so boring. They worry about boring things and sensible things, but what I love about schools is just the enthusiasm and the curiosity and the interest. And I've tried to hold that on myself in my own life. In the end, I didn't become a teacher, or I was a teacher for 1 year. But being a teacher is really hard work. So you should be very, very kind and nice to your teacher, Miss Tanier, and be very kind to her because it's hard work being a teacher. And I'm a lazy man. So instead of teaching, I spent 4 years riding a bicycle. And then writing books, and I suppose sort of trying to teach by the books I write. Kavishka says, when you were in Ecuador, did you really eat a hamster? If yes, what was it like? No, I didn't eat a hamster, but I did eat a guinea pig. And to be honest, it was pretty delicious. It comes barbecued, you get the whole thing. It looks a bit like a chicken at Nando's, really. It tastes very similar to that. Comes with chips, very nice. I realize if you've got a pet guinea pig, that sounds a bit cruel. And actually, these days now, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat meat at all anymore. So if you've got a pet guinea pig, it's safe from me these days. Ayan Mahmood asks, how did your friends and family support you? That's a good question. Because I was on my own cycling around the world, the support I got really was just encouragement, which came from emails, maybe some phone calls, just people saying, come on, keep going. You're doing a good thing. Keep going. And then also my parents, my family helped me with organizing of things. So, for example, when I was in Africa, it was really hot, so I didn't need many clothes. But when I got to Russia, it was freezing, so I needed big winter jackets, big winter coats. So my family would post those out, and when I'd finished with them, I'd post them back to England. So they helped with some of the organizing, maybe also sending out spare parts for my bike when I needed that as well. Which leads on to a question from Saad. How many times did your bike break on your journeys? Lots of times. I had hundreds of punctures. The spokes, the metal bits on the wheels, they broke quite often because my bike was really heavy and I was often traveling on rocky roads in parts of the world that had terrible roads. Once in the desert in Sudan, the actual frame of the bike snapped and I had to find someone to weld it. Yeah, pretty much everything that could break did break. I actually got through 3 bikes overall on the trip. Mirella asks, when were you most scared? Well, there's different kinds of scared. And I think probably the hardest part of the trip in terms of being scared was worrying about what might happen. So before I set off, worrying about different things, worrying about the adventure. And then a lot of the things I spent so long worrying about never actually happened. I think we often tend to spend too long worrying about things rather than just getting on with things and then dealing with any problems that come along, because most of those problems don't come along. I was sometimes also scared in really busy, crazy cities with cars charging around and me trying to wiggle my bike through. That was probably the scariest part of it. But generally, it wasn't really a scary experience. It was mostly a fun and exciting and happy experience being out in all these different countries of the world, traveling around. Malika, what was your least favorite part of the journey and why? Sorry, where was your least favorite? Well, I cycled through Europe in late autumn and I had weeks of cold and rain and sleeping in a wet tent and packing away a wet sleeping bag having cold, wet hands. So that was pretty hard. Siberia, it was freezing cold, minus 40 degrees, much colder than a freezer. And I found that really hard. So at the time, that wasn't really a favorite. But when I look back, it was awesome. And then some days I'd be sick in any different random country in the world, and trying to cycle along when you're sick and you feel lonely and far from friends and family. Those were some of my least favorite times. But there wasn't just one country that I thought, I hate this country. I never want to come back here. Philip says, who was the most important person you met? That's a great question. Important. Well, there's different meanings of important, aren't there? There could be important, like someone who's a celebrity or a prime minister, if you think that they might be important people. But so I don't think I met anyone important like that. But I met lots of normal, ordinary people who in different ways were important to me. And they were usually important because they were kind to me. One of the hardest things about being alone in countries far, far from home, far from the land that I'd been born in and brought up in, was just feeling quite lonely, and I'm not quite knowing whether people wanted me to be there. And so when people were kind to me in their countries, it made me feel welcome. Say, you are cycling through our country, you are very welcome. They were very important to me, people who showed me kindness in foreign places. Abed, what was the most interesting food you ate? We talked about guinea pigs. What else did I eat? Oh, all sorts of strange things. And interesting. That's a good question. I think I'm going to choose sushi, the Japanese food that's raw fish. Let me show you my coffee cup. Here's my coffee cup. It's a bit dirty. I haven't washed it, sorry. But I can use this to demonstrate sushi. The raw fish, often served with rice, and served in really beautiful ways. And I found this really interesting because it's so different to food in any other country in the world. Some of it's incredibly delicious. Even if you don't like fish, some of it's delicious. Some of it's incredibly disgusting. And you can't really tell whether it's going to be delicious or disgusting until you pop it in your mouth and take a bite. So it adds a bit of adventure to your eating as well. Saim asks, on your travels, did you get injured? No, not really. Cycling is a really good way of exercising because it's quite gentle on your body. It's tiring, but it's quite gentle. It's not like if you run hundreds of miles, you can damage your knees, but cycling is quite gentle. So I got very, very fit, very, very healthy, but no, didn't really get injured. And Saeed says, what's the hottest country you travel to? Oh, I could do with some heat today. I'm absolutely freezing cold in England. Hottest country, Sudan in Africa, was about 45 degrees, and Turkmenistan in Central Asia, Uzbekistan, they were hot times. Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan were really, really hot, also about 45. The hottest I've ever actually had was 52 degrees running marathons through the Sahara Desert on a late adventure. That was really hot. Right. Thank you, Montem Academy. Thank you for your fantastic questions. Thank you for reading my book. I really hope that it's made you dream of having some adventures of your own. I hope it's taught you about different places in the world, different people, different cultures, and shown you a bit of what my experience was of having encountered so much kindness in all the different places that I traveled to. Kind people in every country in the world, rich people, poor people, just people being kind and welcome and decent and welcoming me into their country. And that's one of the best things I think I discovered from cycling around the world. That the world is a good, kind place, really, mostly. And I hope you have some good adventures, and I hope it makes you want to read more books, because reading books is great. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day. Goodbye. End stream. Do you want to end your stream? Your stream will stop immediately and you'll no longer be live. Yes, I do.